Live from the campus of Penn State University, this is PSN News. It's Monday, February 13th. We have all you need to know about Jerry Sandusky's retrial proposal and changes in Penn State admission requirements.
We also have more on a trail derailment in Ohio and the United States' use of defensive systems, along with weather, sports, and entertainment. Stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Carlos Garcia.
And I'm Morgan Suppes.
Former Penn State assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky has petitioned for a retrial in his child sexual abuse case. Sandusky was convicted on 45 counts of child sexual abuse and was sentenced 30 to 60 years in state prison. Attorney Al Lindsay filed the amended motion for an evidentiary hearing and new trial on Wednesday in Center County Court. The motion cites evidence that has come to light since the original trial in 2011. Evidence includes an interview that shines light on a, quote, controversial therapy practice used on Sandusky's accusers. Lindsay recently filed a 136 expert report by attorney and psychologist R. Christopher Barden. Barden called the repressed memory therapy, quote, inherently unreliable and a historic disaster, end quote. Sandusky is currently serving his sentence at Laurel Highlands State Prison.
Incoming Penn State applicants who are not happy with their SAT scores have some good news coming their way. Now, they don't need them. Penn State released that you don't need to submit SAT or ACT set scores in applications next year. The university has extended its test optional admissions policy to 2025. The policy was originally implemented in 2020 during the pandemic when SAT testing was limited. It was then extended to 2023 and now 2025 due to the lasting impacts of the pandemic. Anyone can still submit their test scores, but if they're not submitted, the admissions office says that they will focus on other factors of application, such as student grades and essays.
Ferguson Township officials will hold a public forum this Thursday to respond and discuss the impact of a heating oil spill last month in the township. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection said the heating oil shipment was delivered to the wrong home and pumped into a western Ferguson Township stream. The forum is scheduled for 7 p.m. at Baileyville Community Hall. The forum will focus on the public impact of the oil spill, the communications response, and guidance for residents on who to contact in an environmental emergency. The township is also looking to address concerns about unintended environmental impacts to residents, livestock, and the agricultural community.
A Penn State alumna was sworn into Center County's first woman commissioner in nearly 2 decades. Amber Concepcion took the oath in the office in January at Center County Courthouse, making her the first female commissioner in 19 years. She is filling the seat of Michael Pipe, who resigned to take a position with Governor Josh Shapiro's administration. She grew up in State College and attended State College Area High School. She studied political science at Penn State Schreier's Honors College before heading to Georgetown University. She previously served on the State College Board for 11 years.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Amanda Weissman with your sports update. Penn State Wrestling earned their Big Ten regular season title after defeating Maryland 44-3 this past Sunday afternoon. They won 9 of 10 bouts, 7 for bonus. This win finished off their 2023 Big Ten season on a high note, leaving them 8-0. Roman Bravo Young, at 133 pounds, had a notable win by securing 14 takedowns in a 28-13 technical fall over King Sandoval. This win marks Penn State's 9th earning of the conference's regular season title and the 8th dual season that they finished without a loss or a tie. Penn State will close the dual meet portion of their season by hosting Clarion at Rec Hall next Sunday, February 19th at 1 p.m. Penn State men's tennis had a 5-0 sweep over William and Mary on Saturday afternoon. The team earned the doubles point on courts 1 and 3. Malik Batnagar and Charles Morgan celebrated the 8th doubles win of the season after defeating their court 1 opposition 6-1. Head coach Jeff Zinn commended the team's strong doubles performance, saying the team came out with energy and fire. In singles, Penn State took 4 straight courts to collect the win. Mikko Iila was the first to finish, taking down his opponent in straight sets 6-3 and 6-4 for a 9-1 singles record. Next Wednesday, they challenge St. John's to finish out their 11-match homestand. The Kansas City Chiefs have won the Lombardi Trophy, beating the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 in Super Bowl 57. The Chiefs secured their win with 8 seconds left thanks to Harrison Butker kicking a 27-yard field goal. Going into halftime, the Eagles had a lead of 10 over Kansas City. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes led the team in an unforeseen second-half comeback. For the Eagles, QB Jalen Hurts made NFL history as the second player to rush 3 or more touchdowns in the Super Bowl. This all-time classic game was extraordinarily played by the two teams and truly came down to the wire. That's all for your sports update. After the break, Carly Knowlton has the latest updates from the entertainment world. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Carly Knowlton with your entertainment update. Famous country star Carrie Underwood performed at the Bryce Jordan Center on Friday night as part of her Denim and Rhinestones tour. The 8-time Grammy Award winner has also won 16 Academy of Country Music Awards. The BJC is one of the 16 stops Underwood is performing at. The last time Underwood performed at Penn State was back in 2012 for her Blown Away tour. If country music is your jam, another performance to look forward to at the BJC will be Kenny Chesney on March 25th. You couldn't miss seeing that gigantic hot dog on wheels on campus this week, could you? The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile returned to Penn State to recruit new students to be future hot doggers on the road. Ketchup Caitlin and Cookout Christian handed out weenie whistles to anyone who stopped by to check out the vehicle. There was also an information session held for interested students to learn more about the job and get a tour inside the hot dog. In other campus news, the Check Your Fit Slow Fashion Resource Fair was held last week to spread awareness of sustainable fashion choices. Field reporter Shannon Tango has all the details. Take a look.
On February 8th, Penn State University Libraries and the Informed Consumer Committee held the Check Your Fit Slow Fashion Resource Fair in order to explore the world of slow, sustainable fashion.
Just something that we've always been really interested in. We know it's a really hot topic. We all buy clothes, so why not learn where our clothes come from?
At the fair, students were able to learn about the environmental, human, and financial impacts of fast fashion and find alternatives that could better align with their beliefs as informed consumers.
I've been doing it probably for about 20 years, so as a college student, I definitely could not afford to buy clothing off the rack anywhere except from thrift shops. And since then, I have really tried to look for either material that I'm using to sew with or clothing that I buy for myself, my family members.
I like to rewear items a lot, so having that quality item is really good for me.
Students were encouraged to wear their best thrifted outfits and were also able to take some goodies home with them. This included a sewing kit so that they could fix up their clothes at home and a book about fast fashion.
For participants who were unable to attend the in-person event, a free virtual version of the event will be offered on Tuesday, February 28th from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. through Zoom. For PSN News, I'm Shannon Tanzo.
To learn more about Penn State's sustainability efforts, visit sustainability.psu.edu. Last night's Super Bowl was one to remember, especially with Rihanna's halftime performance. After nearly abandoning her music career for 6 years, she shined bright like a diamond on the stage in the biggest way possible. Rihanna sang and danced on a glass platform that hovered above the field while dressed in a red jumpsuit. She finished her 13-minute performance with fireworks singing Diamonds. After displaying what appeared to be a baby bump, Rihanna announced her second pregnancy after the show concluded. That's all for your entertainment update. After the break, interview anchor Danielle Dempsey will be speaking to Margalit Reutman, the president of the Sign Language Organization. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back to PSN News. I'm Danielle Dempsey. With me tonight is the president of the Sign Language Organization, Margalit Reitman. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. So can you tell me, what is the Sign Language Organization?
The Sign Language Organization is a group on campus, and we're dedicated to learning American Sign Language. All levels are welcome, and spreading awareness of deaf culture and that there is like a present signing community on campus. So we're just a place where people can learn and grow and sign together at Penn State.
Nice, that's amazing. And how many students are involved with SLO?
So it used to be a smaller club. I would say last year we only had like 15, 20 students regularly coming to our meetings, and we've grown a lot this year specifically. And now I would say there's maybe between 30 and 50 students coming to each meeting. Yeah,
that's great to see so much growth over the year.
It's amazing.
That's awesome. So what does a typical meeting look like for you all?
Yeah, so we start with any updates that's going on. We have a lot of outreach programs within Sign Language Organization. So anything that's going on, any events we're having that week. And then we typically move into a deaf culture lesson. And a lot of people don't know that ASL is really the language of deaf culture. And so it's really important to us that we have that cultural competency and just learn about different things. The majority of the club are hearing individuals. So it's important that we learn about deaf culture and learn the reason why we're learning sign language. And then after that, we'll go into a vocabulary lesson and learn some new vocab, some grammar structure. And then we usually go into an activity. Our activity in the past meeting was learning the signs for a song. So we did We Don't Talk About Bruno. We translated that into ASL. So we usually try to do something fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So educational, but also like really enjoyable for the members. You mentioned that you guys hold other events besides your meetings. What do some of those events look like?
Yeah, so every week we have our meetings, and then usually every week we have a social of some sort. So that's typically a silent coffee, which is usually at the hub, the big steps, where we just go out and sign with each other and practice. You can grab coffee, you can grab food, and we just gather all different levels. Sometimes we have some deaf community members joining us. And we just sign and get to know each other and hang out. We'll do semesterly formals. We marched in the homecoming parade.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. We perform in Thon. So a lot of other things. And then we do outreach. So we go out into the community and work with, there's one musical theater group made up of individuals with Down syndrome, and we teach them a song in sign language.
Cool.
We're involved in the local high school, so there's a lot of different things going on.
That is incredible. So many different events going on as a group. But what are your specific responsibilities as president of the club?
Yeah. So a big part of my responsibilities are making the slides for each meeting, like organizing the meetings, deciding what we're going to do, delegating if we want someone specific on the executive board to teach like the deaf culture or teach the vocabulary, coming up with different topics, and then leading the meetings for the most part. We split it up and we have different members teaching things, but facilitating the meetings is part of my responsibility, and then communicating with faculty, the ASL professors here, communicating if we need help with anything, what's going on. And then I'm also just a member too, so I'm very often at silent coffee, silent events, anything that's going on, I'm usually there too.
That's amazing. So you do a lot with SLO, and so this is going to be a difficult question, but if you had to choose, what is your favorite memory?
That is a really difficult question, and I think we do a lot of big events like marching in homecoming and performing in Thon, but I have one like little memory that really sticks out, and that was when I was a freshman. I didn't know any sign language before joining Sign Language Organization here at Penn State, and I went to a silent coffee and I was terrified, but the president at the time and a couple other of the people that were there helped me, and I actually was able to communicate something. I think they asked me what I was doing for spring break, and I told them, I was able to tell them that I'm visiting my sister at college, and I just felt so proud of myself that I was able to sign a sentence with words I had learned in the Sign Language Organization.
That is incredible, from being a freshman coming into the school, not knowing sign language, and then being the president by your junior year, correct?
Yeah, so last year was my first year as president, and now I'm a senior, I'm president again.
That's incredible. So what made you interested in sign language in the first place?
Yeah. So I was exposed to sign language in first grade, I think. My teacher his wife was a teacher of the deaf, and so he would just teach us like the alphabet, the sign for like if you have to go to the bathroom. And ever since I saw that, I was like, I will learn ASL at some point in the future. And I didn't get the chance to until coming to Penn State. And so I joined sign language organization before I took any ASL classes, and it was my first way of learning. So learning ASL is something I always wanted to do, and I'm glad that Penn State has, you know, this organization and the classes and the avenues that I've been able to do it.
Absolutely, such a great opportunity. And so how can other students who, like you, are interested in sign language join SLO?
Yeah. So we are a very open club. We're very chill. Whenever you feel like coming to our meetings or our events, we're happy to have you. There's nothing binding. You don't have to come every single week. So we come to any of our meetings, any of our events, anything that's going on. We'd love to see anybody who's passionate about learning sign language. I love when people come who've never signed at all and they just jump right in. It's great.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. And my last question is, how can Penn State students who aren't involved with SLO but want to help advocate for the deaf community and just make Penn State more inclusive overall, what can they do to help?
Yeah, so I actually asked I've asked my friend who's deaf a very similar question about like us as hearing allies, like what can we do to make Penn State more inclusive? And I think just the openness and willingness to learn and find different ways to communicate. You can communicate with deaf individuals even if you don't know sign language. Never be scared to communicate with someone who maybe has a different communication style. And then just if there's any opportunity to advocate, if there's issues with interpreters or captioning devices, making sure you're sticking up for the people who are using those resources, and just being open to being an ally. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking about SLO and all of the great work you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for having me. I really love it here. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Up next, Carlos and Morgan will bring you the latest news from across the nation. Stay tuned.
After a train carrying chemicals derailed and set up a toxic plume in a small Ohio town, residents were able to return home since the incident occurred. Reports state that about half of the 4,800 residents living in East Palestine, Ohio, and other surrounding parts in Pennsylvania were forced to evacuate the area. The residents began returning home after being told last week that the hundreds of air samples taken displayed no dangerous levels of toxins. Samples and studies are still being conducted on the area's water and soil supplies.
A small Ohio police department is under fire after a reporter was pushed to the ground and arrested during the Ohio governor's press conference. It happened last week when Governor Mike DeWine was updating the public about a train derailment and chemical leak in East Palestine. Video shows police and National Guardsmen arresting News Nation reporter Evan Lambert during a live shot. That reporter is now facing trespassing charges. Governor DeWine has said that he did not see the arrest and that he disapproves of it. He followed by saying the reporters have every right to report during briefings. The Ohio Attorney General is currently investigating the case.
A man suspected of injuring 2 Maryland police officers by gunfire has been taken into custody. 24-year-old David Linthicum was the man identified as the shooter. Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies surrounded him in a wooded area near Falston. Police used spike strips to disable the vehicle he stole from a detective he shot. In a news conference held last Friday morning, Hartford County Sheriff Jerry Galler said, quote, "Our community is safer with this individual in custody where he belongs," end quote.
The U.S. military test-launched an unarmed intercontinental ballistic missile last week. The Minuteman III missile lifted off on Thursday from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. It traveled 4,200 miles over the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. Air Force says despite the timing, the launch had nothing to do with North Korea's recent missile testing or the Chinese spy balloon. The Air Force says it was a routine launch and that it was just to test the United States defense system. That concludes our show tonight at PSN News.
Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook at PSN News, on Instagram at Penn State Network News, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PSN News.
Have a good night and stay safe, Penn State.